You see, the question you've got to ask yourself is this: are you completely committed to your success to the point where failure is not an option? This is a question that I think every insurance agent should ask themselves, and if they don't when they get started, I can guarantee you that you will, given enough time working in the field. In my experience selling insurance over the years, I have found that I actually did fail out of the business. Of course, I look back at it and define it differently. They were learning experiences. And ultimately, I didn't give up, even though my first round was not successful. But what I've realized is I used to be a little bit of ashamed of telling that story of failure. But I realized that through talking with other agents that are at the top of their game, reading a ton of books behind me from successful insurance agents, I find that failure or not immediate success or difficulties or facing failure in the face is something all the top producers tend to have in common. It's actually a very common thread of the stories that a lot of these agents talk about, and that's why I'm doing this video today. Because I think that to really be successful, to really give this business an honest attempt, and to really gain the fruits from it, you're going to face failure. You're going to face and question whether or not you really should be doing this business to begin with. You'll have not just your own personal doubts, which we all have to face from time to time. You'll also have financial concerns. You'll also have your spouse, someone hopefully you love dearly, may convince you otherwise. You'll have family members tell you you're doing something that's imprudent, that's not a good idea, that may result in catastrophes to your life. And you'll have all these outside pressures and even logical reasons to quit and to not commit to going through the potential for failure. But somehow you have to prevail. Somehow you have to still stay committed despite every piece of evidence telling you otherwise. So how do you get over this idea of having failure not be an option? Well, you just bottom line have to just completely commit to the idea that there is no other option in your life but success. There's no other option in your life but to be completely committed to this business plan, to this goal that you set out to do, and you cannot consider plan Bs. That doesn't mean you can't think of alternative ways to continue going in the direction that you want to be successful in selling insurance. Maybe a particular line of insurance doesn't quite catch your fancy, or maybe an agency that you work with turns out to be a multi-level marketing Kool-Aid drinking fest, and you don't like that. That's fine. But ultimately what really matters is that you've got to find a way to continue the process and not give up entirely. A couple of examples here. Ben Feldman here. A good book here by Ben Feldman. I just got done reading his other book. It's called, this one's The Feldman Method. The other one's called Creative Selling for the 1990s. Both really good books, actually. Ben Feldman started off by getting thrown out of his first interview, I believe with New York Life. And he came back and was resilient. He would not take no for an answer. He would not fail in the beginning. And he is known across the world as the most legendary, most highly productive life insurance agent that's really ever existed. So you've got also, let's see here, John Savage. High Touch Selling is one of his books. He's got a lot of other great books. Read them all. They're great. He spent 9 or 10 years, more or less mediocrity. He was married. He just kind of went along to get along. And then, I think he did get married in his 8th or 9th year. And by that act of now having responsibility as an adult, instead of being mediocre, he fired up his engines of being the success that he was when he was alive. And the last thing I'll tell you about is Tony Gordon. Again, I'm showing you examples of books and legends. Tony Gordon, It Can Only Get Better. Another book by a guy who was faced after 3 or 4 years in his business looking at getting out of the business. Now he's extremely successful in the UK. And he wanted to get out of the business, but nobody would take him, and he didn't have anywhere else to go. So he was completely committed to this thing. So again, I say all this stuff because you have to be that committed to it. You have to be committed and understand that you will face failure. And you really getting started it's one thing to think it and believe it and understand it, but when you actually go through it, you'll see what I mean. But you have to come into this knowing that you're going to probably want to quit at one point or another. And the secret is just not to. It's just to keep going. Find a way to keep moving forward, not to fail, not to give up like everybody else does, because a lot of people just cannot handle what comes along with this business. And if you can commit to it, then you overcome the biggest hurdle, which is just time. And time getting better, time developing, excuse me, a clientele, time just being in the business and getting better. So the one simple method, I listed here a couple things to talk about. The one simple method to defeat failure is just never to quit, is never to give up. You cannot fail if you don't give up. And I believed in my life when I got started that if just given enough time, if I keep trying and keep going and keep moving forward, eventually all my failures would be behind me and I'd hit something that would be successful. And you find that in sales, all right? I mean, and in baseball and in all sorts, the best average is still the majority of the time, the vast majority of the time you fail. You can have a guy who sells, 30% of his leads, and that's elite in the final expense business at least. That means 70% said no to him. Or you can have somebody who hits a 300 batting average. Well, he didn't hit 70% of the time statistically. So that's the vast majority of the time he didn't connect with the ball. So you have to commit to keep going regardless. And eventually those successes, in the minority as they are, as long as you can achieve them with enough time, they tend to outweigh tremendously the costs. And so you just have to keep going. And my suggestion to you in this, is, as far as an action plan goes, is that you have to take time to really account for what your vision in life is and what it is that you really want to do with your life, what your values are. You have to imagine how you want your life to be. You have to set clear, specific goals with deadlines. You have to spend time really investing yourself in self-improvement, which the goal is to better define what it is that you want to accomplish in your life. And the best way to do that is to read books by all the greats. Brian Tracy, for example, has been a great influence on my life. And really just define what it is in life that you want and be completely committed to that. Again, the more concrete, the more crystallized your vision, the more emotional drive that you want to have whatever it is that you want in life, and the better you can objectify it and define it, quantify it, you're going to have a better time when it comes to this eventual frustration that you will experience just as a natural cause of this business. So, the action plan is to really decide what it is you want in life, what it is you want to do, and be completely committed to the process. Figure out what the process is for whatever it is that you want to pursue. Work with somebody who can help you out. Get involved with a trainer, a mentor, somebody like that. And then define what your outcomes are that you want to accomplish and then work to achieve them. Never stop moving forward. Never give in when there's difficulty. There will be. You must anticipate it. Just like when we anticipate objections on the phone, when we call, we don't anticipate everybody's just going to let us in. We have to anticipate that most are going to tell us no as a knee-jerk objection. And in the same way, the difficulties in life that we experience will happen. And it's really just a function of figuring out what it is that you need to do in order to anticipate that and continue forward. So that's my little motivational talk today for you guys. If you like this kind of video, I do videos daily, Monday through Friday, about all subjects, life insurance. I talk a lot about final expense. I talk a lot about insurance sales training. If you're a new agent or experienced agent, if you haven't already, please thumbs this video up, like it. Also subscribe to my channel for these kinds of videos. I've got a whole catalog of videos on all sorts of things, insurance training, so make sure that you join. My name is David Duford at Final Expense Agent Mentor at feagentmentor.com. If I can do anything for you, help you out with anything, feel free to leave a comment or contact me, and I'll do what I can to assist you. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope it helps some of you guys who are on the fence about this business to push forward past it and keep going, okay? Take care.